Okay, so greetings. Today I want to talk about a lot of different things, a whole crazy smorgasbord of crap. Okay, if you don't know who I am, I'm Suzanne Titkemeyer. Since 2009, I've been writing for the column No Longer Quivering. I no longer write that, and it was at Pathos for nearly 10 years. But I was writing about religions and how they harm people. Greetings. I'm glad to see you here with me. Today is kind of a weird day for me, so I've got to talk about that a little bit. Do the YouTube things, hit like, subscribe, all of that. These are my opinions. Please don't bully or harass anybody I'm talking about here. Hey, Sue Elliott, good to see you. So I wasn't going to do, hey, Heather, I wasn't going to do a live stream today because my eyes are extremely swollen because I'm having post-asthma infections. If I wanted to say it like the special infection. So that's kind of where we are. Dances in the rain. Hey, Maria Burkhead, listening while driving. And Pork just got up. I wanted to let you guys know. You remember last week when Pork was getting on my case and she was standing around meowing constantly, and I said I didn't know what she wanted? Well, we had a 4.2 earthquake shortly thereafter. Apparently, she was trying to warn me about the earthquake, and I was too stupid to know. Is this like the Dr. Pepper jingle? He's a felon, she's a felon, you're a felon. Wouldn't you like to be a felon too? Yes, we're all felons. Somebody, yeah, you did, Kentucky girl. Somebody yesterday, I think it was Java Man said that statistics show that the average person commits 3 felonies a day. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think about committing felonies. I don't know about that because my mind is not criminal. I've learned that the hard way many a time. When people tell me about things that are being done criminally, I'm like, what? Why would you even do that? It's so crazy. So crazy. Hastily. So I'm bragging on Pork because she predicted an earthquake of all crazy things, and I would never thought that. And I'm overjoyed today because I won this. I'm trying to win one of these for forever. It's the Endless Summer movie poster, and Robert August, the guy who actually starred in the movie, autographed it for me. My father loved Robert August in the movie The Endless Summer. You ever have a chance to see it? Take a look. It's a surfing movie filmed in the early 60s where Robert and his pals went around and they chased summer for 9 months around the globe to surf. Corn is a seedy industry all around. Yes, we're going to talk about that too. Also, somebody is making big claims about all of their lawsuits being dealt with today. The only one that I think it might be Steve. I haven't talked to Steve about this, but there's a possibility his lawsuit might be dropped because I think he served her on pocket service and hasn't filed an actual lawsuit paperwork I've seen. Now, it's interesting. Yesterday, 2 different sets of lawsuit paperwork dropped. It was I think the age people should be allowed to enter corn is 25 when the brain is fully developed. I think so too. I'm going to talk about that in a bit. So she's making all these claims, that troll is, about this lawsuit and that lawsuit. And the paperwork is dropped where various people are asking for discovery to be sped up or discovery to be delayed. And I think that's what she's talking about. I think she thinks this means that the lawsuits are just going to go away. Girlfriend, not happening. And I'm even going to say, I'm going to make a prediction. If the one with Chrisley gets dropped or 7M, my prediction is they will be immediately refiled with tweaked paperwork. It is certain. It is certain. The magic 8 ball has spoken. So it is certain. If they get dropped, he's going to go ahead and refile both of them. Now, about the corn. This is why I'm so just kind of discombobulated today. I was having a conversation with somebody the other day about Cornhub, and I was saying, I'm not a big fan of it for so many reasons. Now, I do enjoy looking at their statistics because they do release their statistics. And one of the things you have to think about with Cornhub is their statistics gathering. They do so much data mining. They can tell you so much about their users, what happens when their people don't use, just different things that they're doing data collection and data mining on anybody going to the site. So for that, I thought that kind of scary that they would have those kind of statistics and things put aside for everybody. And the other thing is it's coming out. So an article in New York Times was written in 2020 by a journalist that I happen to love. And the article talked about the problems with Cornhub. That so many times women experience the R word and it ends up on there. And getting them to remove it is difficult. Cornhub does something that YouTube does not. They make it really easy for you to download your things, your favorite things. These are a few of my favorite corns. And then when you've downloaded, people turn around and upload it. So just because the R word has happened to you and your R word was monetized and stuck on YouTube does not mean it ever goes away. It comes back again and again and again. Now, I'm not saying there aren't some women who aren't willing participants on Cornhub, because I'm sure there are. There are some that I see that regularly upload there. Corn is the worst invention ever. It's a violation of normal sexuality. But Celine, corn goes way, way back. That first corn I think that I saw that was found was like 17,000 years old, drawn on the side of a wall outside of a brothel, was my understanding. So it's an old problem that goes way back. And I've talked about it in my book a little bit, because to me, one of the most frightening statistics is that 40% of pastors say they look at corn and Cornhub once a month at least. Now, these are people that are supposed to be the spiritual leading flocks of people, and they are falling prey to the thing they rail against. So if those are the ones that admit it, just imagine what the true numbers look like. My main problem with corn is if it is coerced, or say there's been a number of cases where someone either provided a significant other with nude photos or custom corn just for them that have ended up on Cornhub. But the worst problem on Cornhub is the trafficking of little girls. There's a New York Times article I'm going to link in the description here about it, because they started talking about revenge corn and little girls being seized up and put on Cornhub. One of the girls was a 15-year-old that disappeared, whose mother was searching for her because the police, of course, had their thumbs up their rear ends. They were being unhelpful. She found her daughter on Cornhub, 15-year-old daughter being abused, being arred, being manhandled and abused, being harmed. And they still haven't found the girl and or her body. But they know for a fact that she was used to make corn that ended up on Cornhub. I mean, sick and twisted. The most famous and viewed type of corn is interracial, I think. I don't know. Like I said, I keep up with some of their statistics. Like, I laugh to see Cornhub released statistics that every day that they had a new episode of Game of Thrones on, the traffic at Cornhub dropped to nothing. So there you go. That's my rant. So there's some people that are trying to take this down because there's so many cases of these young girls being trafficked and used in this stuff. And Cornhub is based out of Canada, so their laws are even different there, and out of Belgium. So getting them shut down has been a thing, and I hope that the owners are held accountable because there's so many people on Cornhub that have not given permission, and this just really just it it just disrespects their own sexuality and their personhood. I'm not a big fan of corn, but I can see it serves a purpose in society. It's just it really needs to be perfectly legal stuff with everybody well above age. Okay, so now I'm going to circle back around to Katie Joy and her lawsuits. Take a drink. I wish I had tequila. The set of videos that I made for No Longer Quivering that are no longer on air was me reading aloud and speculating on Vaughn Ullman's book, What Are You Doing? And every time Vaughn hit a particularly squishy bit of sexuality, I would take a drink of tequila. I would do a tequila shot. And there were a couple of episodes I got kind of hammered. If I could just take tequila again, I would be really happy and do a tequila one from reading her son. KJ and corn shouldn't go together. John. She talks about it. She went into such graphic detail about the corn that Josh Duggar had that she has already placed herself in corn. And she said that she had watched that video that Josh had. And then she backtracked and said, no, she hadn't watched it. She just read descriptions. So I don't know. So last time she posted this big thing about 3 lawsuits about to go away. Like I said earlier, I'm pretty sure one of those is Steve's lawsuit. But her lawsuit against Steve is even weirder because she's claiming that she had to completely relocate her family because she felt so threatened by Steve. Receipts of that didn't happen, girl. I have no memory of that, and I was speaking to her when she was freaking out the most about Steve. I actually have screen caps up when her and I were talking about Steve, and I didn't know who he was, and every time she'd say something squishy about Steve, I would just say, oh, he must be crazy. Because, with her, I just gave very vague answers when she talked to me about these things. And I'm thinking, I don't really care about any of this. And you're telling me this, why? So her and her corn. So she's telling everybody that this lawsuit will be dropped. And like I said, I'm pretty sure it's Steve's, but I'm not 100% certain. The 7M lawsuit, they passed the date where they had to give discovery, and there was some kind of snafu, and 7M is asking for a rescheduled date for giving for that whole discovery. And the great irony of this is KJ missed the discovery deadline on Todd Chrisley's, and instead of doing like sometimes happens where it is the whole thing is thrown out, or else there's a summary judgment and the person suing is found to have a valid and meritorious case. That didn't happen. Graham Cracker asked the courts for an extension for discovery. I'm kind of hoping that this is Steve's case going out. And I'm going to explain why. Steve's case, I think of the 3, is probably the least strong. I'm not saying he doesn't have a case, because he actually does have a valid case, I think, because she has talked so much. Well, when all this was first going on, and she sent us those little crazy ass letters, emails that ordered us to keep all our correspondence with Steve, it had to do with Steve's lawsuit. It had nothing to do with the lawsuit against Todd Chrisley. Just run her mouth, Java man. She's trying to make all these claims that all 3 of the lawsuits are about to be thrown out of court. I think Steve's is because he hasn't actually filed beyond the pocket service, I think. And so I'm thinking that one's very likely to be thrown out. She's trying to claim that because 7M missed their deadline um, for discovery, that case is going to go bye-bye. And she's saying the same thing about the Todd Chrisley one because Todd is now a convicted felon and he is going away to jail very likely very soon. So she's tried to delay discovery so many times on that case that the discovery's been again. Didn't she miss numerous deadlines for discovery with some of these? Java Man, yes, she did. She did. And like I said, I'm not sure why why the courts aren't just saying summary judgment for the plaintiff and hitting her with all. I'm really not sure why they're entertaining allowing her to drag her feet on discovery. Yet when she's dragging her feet on discovery, yet when the other side misses discovery deadlines, she tries to have the whole lawsuit dismissed as unmeritorious. And we know that there is plenty there from Todd Chrisley and 7M that should be exposed. One of the things that was utterly ridiculous about her Steve lawsuit, and I just said this a little while ago, but I'm repeating this, Java Man, for you, is she tried to say that she was so afraid of Steve that she had to relocate her family. And she wants Steve to pay moving expenses. Does anybody remember moving anywhere? Anyone? Anyone? She didn't move anywhere. She's still been squatting in that McMansion, that tract home in Minnesota. Yeah. Hey, Grace Peter. So she's trying to make all these silly claims. Yeah, Java Man, nowhere. Maybe they went on vacation and hey, Christoph Fan, and they were in a hotel room, but nobody. She didn't relocate anything. There's no moving expenses. You have to have receipts for this crap when you claim it, or you can actually be found in contempt of court. You've been waiting for the stream, Grace. Well, I don't know how rational I'm going to be because my asthma's pretty bad today, and I am drugged up to the eyeballs and about to be more drugged up. I was thinking that KJ shouldn't drink and internet as well as drink and drive. Java Man, from your mouth to God's ears. From the basement to the living room. Yeah, that might be the only thing that she relocated over. So she's making all these crazy claims in her retaliatory lawsuit against Steve. Christoph Fan, I have to address that, okay? I have to address that. I never took any of her content. I have to explain her logic, but that I have to say this yet again. I've said this a number of times now. I started writing and editing No Longer Quivering in 2009. In 2010, the entire website was moved to Pathos, and we became under the Pathos umbrella. And I started writing and editing other people's writings for No Longer Quivering from 2010 to 2020 almost. I think I quit in November of 2019. She didn't even show up in the mommy blogger sphere until 2012, I think it was. It's the earliest appearance of her grifting for dollars, allegedly, and talking about her child when he was born and trying to raise money. So she started writing for Pathos 2018, 17, 18. So by that point, I had like 8 years of documents and content under my belt, still up at No Longer Quivering on Pathos. So she's trying to say that I took content from her. BS. That whole thing she's saying about the Duggar boys being gay and going through camp, that came straight from me. And it wasn't on the website. It was stuff I shared with her when I was talking about why I thought the Duggars were so incredibly toxic. And you have to remember when she first started digging into the Duggars, she called them the Dugars, the Dugars instead of the Duggars. And people started correcting her right away on her mispronunciation. She didn't start covering the Dugars until right before she left Pathos, and then and then on her live streams. I've never taken any content at all from her. Dugars, yes. Java Man, I'm thinking that she's not making memories. She's not making good memories. So, yeah, she's accused me of that. I have plenty of evidence to back my claim that she stole content from me, including anybody can go to Bobby the Robotic Cat's videos and see where I'm telling my life story. And then later she's telling her life story with the confines of joining and leaving a church. And she uses my story word for word in many places. And my story has been on Pathos well before I ever heard of her. Well before. I only had done a video about a year or so ago where I talked about leaving. When you can't even tell the truth, when it's right there staring you in the face. And I remember her calling them the Dugars. That's right. That's exactly right. She is just, wow. We know she's been lying. And here's the thing, I think I have a pretty good case if I ever wanted to come after her for not defamation, but for plagiarism, because I have writings. I have over 10 years worth of writings. And then the last couple of times here on YouTube, the last couple of years, I've been sharing a lot of that content here. Same stories and everything that are no longer quivering. So for her to say that I'm stealing content is literally the most bogus and easily debunked lie, because like I said, 2009 to 2019 was when I was doing this. She didn't even come on the scene till 17, 18. So what was I doing all those 8 years before? 7, 8 years. If she wasn't even writing then beyond a few things, and none of it was religious or Duggar related at all. It was all about her son and how sick he was. Jackie, hey, yeah. So I get the feeling she wouldn't admit to something that she said, even when confronted with video evidence. Java Man, we know that is true because of the CC Suarez deep dive, where all CC did. She didn't talk to any of us. And I know a lot of us would not talk to her because we wanted her to do a proper deep dive. She talked to nobody, none of the OGs. And what she did was she looked at the videos and was able to debunk the lying just from the own words of KJ. You haven't been sued and aren't currently being sued. That's true. And I'm not going to sue her because I really don't want, if I did, it would be slim pickings after 7M. They're going to get it all. As we know, there could be another lawsuit in the works with her behavior in the Vaughn case. Java Man, I would not rule that out because she has done them true harm. I also think there might be a Duggar one in the works because I know that they've tried several times to get her to stop using their photographs. And I know how litigious they can be over that based upon my own interactions over Duggar photographs when I was writing for NLQ. Cece's video was great. I wasn't enthralled with it at first, but now that I've thought about it a while, it is great. And it's great that she used KJ's own words to take her down. Her own words, not anything we've said, nothing that's been online that I could tell. Katie Joy's own videos. Hoisted on her own petard. I just found Cece. I thought the video was really well done. It was, Grace, and she was quite kind about it. And just factual. She was Joe Friday of the YouTubes. Just the facts, ma'am. So there's that. And I think that is an excellent, excellent way to approach it. Ever since then, we've been watching KJ spin and lie about what happened and what was said. Facts, not drama. Exactly. Cece goes after a lot of MLMs and scammers. So I was happy to see her do a deep dive. She's also in the process, apparently, of doing a deep dive on Brittany Dawn. If you know who Brittany Dawn is, I would recommend going to Reddit, their section on Fundies Uncensored, and reading up on B Dawn, because she's another one semi-scammery who went from an influencer to a Christian influencer and has run a ton of fundraisers and just done so many things that are not right. So I'm waiting for that one too. You're saving it? Yeah. She is the only YouTuber I know of that has an international decentralized resistance group against her, now celebrating its 10th year in existence. Java Man, that is true. When the entire internet hates you, and I'm not saying that there aren't other hate groups about other creators. I remember at one point I knew damn good and well when I was writing for Patheos, there was a group that was discussing me, and they had decided that I didn't live in Costa Rica, and that really made me laugh. I was like, I wish I didn't live in Costa Rica. I wish I just came here for vacation, like you said, because if that was the case, some other person would be picking up the wet towel. Some other person would be changing the sheets on the bed. Some other person would be cleaning the guest house. It wouldn't be me. There are some crazy, wild, bad YouTubers out there. Absolutely. Anyone here ever see Truthfully Trish? Speaking of a bad one, I was really offended when I saw her in Dr. Phil's show because one of the things that she did was she faked an anaphylactic episode, and I've had a number of those, and everything she was saying and doing was utterly ridiculous. Most everybody I've known that's had anaphylaxis ends up having a panic attack too and just freaking out. With me, when I go into it, my vocal cords shut. So they slam shut, and I end up passing out from lack of oxygen. And then the cords open, and I breathe again. And it's just a really scary, horrible thing that I wouldn't fake. But truthfully, Trish has faked it. Take a drink. She faked it by pretending to have anaphylaxis over black pepper. I watched one this morning with 5 adults yelling at each other, calling each other fat and ugly, telling them to etc. Adults. That's pretty crazy. Foodie Beauty is a prime example. Darth, I have watched her a couple times, like, oh. When I went to the States back in June and I spent time alone with my adult son, we started talking about our favorite YouTubers, and he likes the freaks. He told me his Friday night freaks. It doesn't let you freak out. It's terrifying. Yeah. I usually freak out. I usually have a panic attack right in the middle of it. When I start getting that airway compromised, it happens for me. So everybody's different. And sometimes it's after the attack is over, the panic attack happens. So Friday night, I said, well, let me see your freaks. Let me see your freaks on Friday night. So went in the living room, pulled up YouTube on his TV, and he started cruising through his Friday night updaters that are crazy. And I'm going to say they're crazy. One of them was Foodie Beauty, who I was like, oh my word, what is she doing? I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. And he has a bunch. He has a bunch of creators he watched that is just horrifying and scary. He had a few. He had one guy that people send him food and alcohol all the time, and he just kind of sits around on his janky old chair and calls people filthy names, racist names. He goes after people for the stupidest of reasons. This guy is like ignorance personified, and I don't even know how he gets away with a lot of the things that he says and does. It's just crazy. So there's that. And I watched his freaks. And then on Sunday morning, I made him watch my freaks because some of the ones I follow update on Sunday mornings. There's Kelsey with 7-4 gear that I watch all the time. He's made me where I no longer fear flying, which is a good thing because I fly a lot. And before I was white knuckling it every time. Now I'm kind of like, ho hum, it's just like taking the bus. I'd get sucked into a rabbit hole, so I won't look at her. Yeah, YouTube I watch has done it. On Beauty Booty. I don't get how she still has a channel when she's been flashing her audience on stream a few times. I don't get it either. I also don't get these people that talk about how they live their disabled life. And instead of just saying, hey, this is what I do, they take weird ass videos like taking showers. This is how you shower when you weigh 500 pounds or whatever. And I'm kind of like jaw dropped because while I have a million hints on how I deal with my own verklempt of my body, I would never go online and show that. Love Kelsey. Isn't Kelsey fun? He's very snarky. He demystifies a lot of things. I know now when I'm sitting there airplane, I'm hearing clunk. Okay, that's this. Okay, that noise is the flaps doing their thing. That noise is the reverse thruster of the engines. So Kelsey does an actual good service. He demystifies all of everything about flying. They put those people on TLC as well, like the Duggars and Honey Boo Boo. That's the problem with TLC. Lowest common denominator is what I'm thinking that that's what TLC stands for me. The lowest common. It's just nuts. Kelsey is fun and informative. Hey, Sunflower. Suzanne, how does the current KJ drama not violate TOS? The fundraiser that they do and the accusations they made surely must go against TOS, or am I dumb? Darth, they do go against TOS, but I think that the reason that YouTube does not spank her is because she's got a channel with a lot of subscribers, even if a lot of them were probably bought, allegedly, in my opinion. Here's what I think. I think they usually don't take down the bigger YouTubers or the median YouTubers because they don't have a lot, because they have a lot of sway. They pull in a lot of revenue. Even though they violate TOS left and right, the terms of service. I'm not sure how she's still on YouTube. I'm not sure how she's still on Facebook. We think maybe she got spanked on Instagram. I really don't know. But it seems kind of likely that that's happened. And quite a few of the subscribers seem to have gone quite rabid. They have. She's recently taken up with somebody that knocked heads with Molly Golightly, that was threatening to unalive himself on Molly's live stream. I'm not even going to mention the person's name because they're kind of a sad little clown, as far as I can tell. And they have a small YouTube channel. And they've now hooked up with Katie Joy to throw mud at Molly Golightly. Her views definitely don't match her sub count. There's a story there. Absolutely, Christoph fan. Absolutely. And her subscribers are the very type that go real life. Look at how many sponsors that Ginger and Jeremy Volo have lost because she's got her little minions to go after them. That's the same thing that's happened with 7M. It's happened with Jessa Duggar Seawald. So I'm thinking that Jessa and Ginger really have pretty good tortious interference type lawsuits if they ever wanted to go after her. I think all the KJ reaction channels and the KJ commentary and the money keeps her around. I just don't know all of these creators are allowed to fundraise. It makes me so uncomfortable. Darth, it makes me uncomfortable too. And I've stated before, I actually cut off all fundraising at NLQ at one point because it started to just be ridiculous. And people were trying to fundraise for different ridiculous reasons. It's like I had a girlfriend, like I said, that had to get money to go see her grandfather before he died. I contributed to that. When her father had surgery, same deal. I contributed to that. The minute she started asking for money to have somebody clean her house, get herself a manicure, stuff like that, I was like, oh no. And I quit giving her anything. It also happened with the Sophie Long case. Exactly how she's still online after Sophie Long. I don't know. Be careful if KJ is trying to fundraise to save the mammals because remember, KJ is a mammal. Yeah, she is. She's a mammal. She's a sack of meat and blood riding around a rock like the rest of us, even though she seems to think she's a diamond. Darth. Yeah, I watch LB sometimes for that reason because she's a Louisiana gal. And we got to stick together. We really have to stick together out there without a crystal balls. I think she got banned on Instagram for a graphic detail of what Josh Duggar did to his sister. I think so too. She's only done one video recently on Instagram, and it was a very short one. It's kind of funny watching her swerve from platform to platform to platform to platform. I think she's going to end up on Reels and some of the lesser well-known ones eventually because once these lawsuits shake out, I believe YouTube at that point will probably boot her from the platform. But it's going to take that. Darth, I try to be funny. And I'm struggling with that in my book because I'm trying to tell everything in the most humorous way possible, but I'm talking about some really awful things. And I'm trying also to come up with ways to deal with those things happening because there are steps that you can take if you're caught in that. And when you leave, it is a total mind change. For that purpose, I don't know how much of that KJ took in. She was only there 2 years at her church. But if you're drinking the Kool-Aid solid, take a drink. You will really internalize a lot of that BS. And guess what? When you go to leave, that stuff is still there. Even though you don't think it will affect you, it does affects and infects you. You have to put that stuff to death consciously. And there are ways to do that I talk about. There are ways to do that. So that's why my book is taking forever. I'm having to do a ton of research for all of that. Really, if she got banned, can she even do little videos there? Crystal Fan, I don't know. She might be on her last leg there. Maybe it was like a month or so, 6 weeks, banning it and being told, hey, if you do this stuff again, you'll be booted. Hey, Shelly R. Hey, Danielle. Katie didn't do a live on Instagram for a really long time due to her mental health. Oh, you got rain in the heartlands? Is that something you need, Carol R? I haven't really kept up with the drought situation in the States, but I wish I could ship you some of this rain because we're having rain almost every day during rainy season. Usually in rainy season, here especially, mornings are beautiful, afternoons are overcast, and there may be a little rain in the afternoons. Lately, it's been raining a lot early on. And when I take a nap during rainy season because of the asthma, that is if I can nap because most of the drugs are amphetamines. If it starts raining, I'm out like a light. It's been so hot in Texas, really needs some rain. Well, I hope they get that because I know the farmers are held hostage to what the weather does. That's what I remember from Laura Ingalls Wilder's books is how there was all this and the way her family supported themselves, that was kind of at the mercy of God and the rains and the wind, and the whatever, the hailstorms, grasshoppers, different things. So I hope you do get some rain. Without a crystal balls, did that stop her from doing lives to her other channels? Unfortunately not. That's when she picked up Facebook, got monetized, and started doing them. And she said some awful things on Facebook. I'm hoping a lot of people report the ones where she's defaming others. If not, it's kind of useless. Oh, so I am looking, trying to figure out. I've got to talk to some relatives about some things about health concerns and health records. Isn't that the time Frog Prince got his own channel? I don't remember exactly when that was. I was disappointed because I saw one of his history ones that I actually enjoyed. And I thought, well, with time and polish, he might should have a decent YouTube career and not be on something awful. I watch a lot of history channels. Is it true she did a live in the dark after CC's videos? She started her live in the dark, and she switched on her lights only after it was obvious nobody could see her because it was completely 100% pitch black. Von Art Guitars. Java Man, I heard that he puts those guitars together from kits. He's not even cutting the bodies out or doing any of the hard work. He's just like gluing and putting things together. And I was disappointed because I've known a few people that have made guitars through the years and just made some incredibly beautiful creations, but they aren't using kits. They're actually cutting out the body of the guitar. They're polishing it. They're doing everything. And they're creating these impressive works of art. Taking a kit, gluing it together, and then customizing the paint job isn't the same thing. KJ's video in the dark just shows she's one with the dark side. Ooh, and there's some creators that say she's evil. She's lucky I haven't put together a voodoo doll. Yes, I wouldn't tell them about your history, anyone else's. It sounds like a scam of some sort to me. I was thinking life insurance, but then I thought a policy on your mother, maybe. Shaliar, I spoke to somebody in the know, and they said that it had to do with a new doctor wanting a complete medical history of everybody in the family. The irony is the part of the family this person is asking about doesn't have health problems until they reach about 60. Then they usually have to take blood pressure meds, and I include myself in that. She should be asking about the other side of the family where there's asthma, there's all kinds of crazy heart problems, there's diabetes, there's all kinds of stuff. So he's not going to be the next Stradivarius. No, Java Man, he's definitely not. It's a shame because he could have a burgeoning business if he actually did it that way and not picking up and putting it down as a hobby over and over. Do not underestimate the power of the dark side. I think I'm going to have to do a voodoo doll. Pitiful is what she is. Yep. Dark side has cookies, most definitely. She flatters herself. She likely even wouldn't be Satan's pearl necklace. Oh my goodness. That's something they can live without, or like I said, do a 23andMe and whatever they are, the DNA test. I think they did that at one point because her husband had been saying that he was part Native American, and they did one of the ancestry type things, and it said, nope, no Native American blood. But what it did give was apparently some African blood, which makes me laugh because when Steven Anderson did one, he had African blood. Now, the ones in my family we've done just show a Heinz 57 and a Cajun hood, which is not real surprising. So there's that. That's something they can live without. Yeah, it is. So I think that he should step up his game. I'm going to say it right now. Todd, step up your game. Do real guitars. You could have a real good living at that. You wouldn't have to be dependent upon your wife and her career. And I'm going to say it again. YouTube should be a hobby, not a career, unless you're way, way up there. And some people are up there enough where they can make it a nice little career, but most people aren't. Most people are about like me. This is just their side thing they do for fun. So there we go. So I'm waiting with bated breath, and I may go live again this evening once it drops which lawsuits are being impacted. He should definitely make 2 Bentley guitars. He absolutely should, Java Man. He should. That would be hysterical. Or even a giant crystal ball looking guitar or crystal ball glaze on a guitar. There's so many things. Or giant diaper. That is so funny that she tried to say he was Chippewa and it showed he had family from that county in Michigan, but not entitled to pouch money. That's the thing. That's the thing. If you're going to be claiming you're Native American, it behooves you to get one of those tests and to prove what your percentages are and which tribe you belong to, because a lot of those tribes have casino money. Unfortunately, the one that I related to, there's no casino money there at all. She did put all her eggs in one basket way too quick. She sure did. She sure did. And I am all about people doing whatever their passion is. But I think with her, it's all about money. I don't know that this is what she enjoys doing, but she's trying to get the money. They have several casinos in Michigan. So I've heard. No casino dollar in my native bloodline either. Jackie, we kind of suck. We too bad we don't have some because I I could always use money. No, I don't need it, but I could use it. I mean, um, one's passion shouldn't be hurting other people. Java Man, exactly. If your passion is hurting other people, you might be a sociopath. There's a book that I read that really demystified the whole thing with sociopaths. It's called The Sociopath Next Door. And once I read the book, I was able to identify various people in my past that had been sociopaths, including my ex. So there's that. It takes more than DNA to get any benefits from being Indigenous in Canada. Grace Peters, so I heard. I've heard that it can be hard there. Just like it's hard to be a resident if you're from the USA. Good book. I've read it. Kentucky Girl, yes. I read that book. It was amazing. Same Shelley R. The Millionaires Next Door. Hey, it's not hearing day. I just put that up because she was making so many claims about lawsuits being dropped today, as in done away with, dismissed. And I don't think it's that. Man, I should write The Millionaire Next Door because, like I said, I have run into a lot of them here, and my father was rather well to do. Okay, he who worked at a bank. He was a banker. He was the vice president of a bank. He was president of another bank. He owned a string of loan companies at one point. And so I know what it's like to be raised with quite a bit, to be raised with the pool in the backyard, the tennis courts, all of that. But I kind of got thrown out of the family home when I was like 15. So I left all that and endured a lot of poverty. Um, so it's only since we've gotten here, because we've always been very parsimonious with the dollar in this household. Always, always, always. So hearing now I'm around all these guys and I'm getting to see how they operate. And it is definitely different than you or I. I operate like somebody who is really tight with a buck. Dang, I can't get the medical library for research. Yep, yep, yep. Sad but true. But here's what I want to say with KJ and her money chasing and the way she's acting. She's not acting like someone with money, somebody really with money. She's acting like what I would call nouveau riche. She's acting like somebody that had not had a lot of money their entire life, and then they get a whole pile of it and they start blowing it on stupid stuff, Botox and the like. Whereas a lot of very wealthy people who've had it for generations tend to safeguard what they've got. They tend to hang on, they tend to save. Why did she bring up the cases? Shelley R., I think it's distraction. She likes to distract. One of the cases, they missed the discovery date, the 7M one, and they're asking for additional time. They actually had some pretty good reasoning for it. So the judge has to rule on that. The other one, she has been the person to miss the discovery dates, and it's just been pushed back a couple of times for her nonsense. The one that she's saying is going to be dropped today, I think, will probably be the Steve McRae case. I may be wrong, but I think Steve pocket served her and didn't actually go ahead and serve her, and nothing's been filed. So I think that's the one that's going to be dropped. And I don't blame Steve because it's a costly thing. Steve is insisting it's not be dropped. That's really interesting. I wonder who she's talking about then. The only ones that I know that were dropped with her is Jillian Epperly of Jilly Juice. Kept trying to sue her, and it was always dropped for jurisdiction. The other one that's been settled, it was dropped because of jurisdiction, and she settled with Tati Westbrook so that Tati would not refile in her jurisdiction. Katie didn't win. She reached a settlement with Tati, and the cost of that settlement was giving up Clark Swanson. So I don't consider that a win. If you have to give away something like that, something big, and you can't use journalistic privilege to cover for that, then you haven't won. You've lost, as far as I'm concerned. And there was no joint statement like she claims. There was no joint statement. She got on her channel and gave a statement. Tati never said a word. She just reappeared on her channel eventually. Hey, bossy. Hey, so she's talking about frivolous lawsuits and legal fees. Who knows? Maybe it's imaginary. Maybe it's in her own mind. Who knows at this point? Like I've said before, I'm just kind of bored with her. She just does the same things again and again and again. She doesn't veer and do anything new. The only thing that's new this time is she's gone to some new lows and some new places with Marvon McRae's family and with Molly Golightly. She has gone into real life. She got Letitia fired supposedly by calling her boss. She also, what was it? There was something else they were saying that she had done. Oh, she released that video that was given to her by the stepmom that nobody was supposed to release. It had been given to other people. She released that on the night that the stepmother lost her mother. Talk about tacky bad timing. That's it. Take a drink. KJ will always be talking out of her ash. Yeah, she's an ash clown. I'm impatiently waiting for Swanson to sue her. I hope he does. Heather, I think it may happen. And I think there's a possibility Letitia may sue her. And I think there's a possibility we may see a Duggar lawsuit coming. Magic 8 Ball, will there be other lawsuits coming? Yes, definitely. Woo, woo. This is about as accurate, I gotta say, as any other thing. So, like I said, that's the one that I have just laughed over. So, my aunt's trying to get a hold of me. I'm going to have to wait and ask 8 if there will be a Duggar lawsuit. Will there be a Duggar lawsuit? Very doubtful. Okay, I think you're lying. I think there might be because they've sent her, including as recently as a couple of months ago, they sent her messages saying, "Please stop using our pictures." They would do that to me on at patios, so I went and photographed them at a local appearance, just so that I could have photographs that I actually owned the copyright on to use in my articles. So Magic 8 Ball says no. KJ is on par with Jill Rod when it comes to lack of boundaries. Absolutely. And it makes me wonder why. I think with Jill Rod that her lack of boundaries is because she never had a boundary respected. Her mother, Patricia, and her father raised her in this evangelical church that isn't known for having boundaries. Those kinds of churches tend to strip away your boundaries. I had to relearn boundaries when I left my old church because they just weren't there. So I'm thinking Jill Rod's lack of boundaries was learned at her mother's knee. And it is boomeranging horribly on her mother because Jill is in that hospital room taking pictures of a woman that is very much not able to stand up for herself, very much a vulnerable person that the doctors, nurses should be standing up for, should be calling to have her removed from the room. I mean, really, you don't take pictures of someone that cannot give consent and then upload them to Facebook or wherever. You just don't do it. She got Letitia fired. Didn't know that. Yes, she got Miss Letitia fired. Supposedly, she and some of her minions called Letitia's boss, called the job, and made allegations about the fundraisers and the whole thing. And they fired Miss Letitia. Molly Golightly was livid when this came out. I think it was Saturday morning is when I first heard about it because Molly did a live stream and she was talking about Letitia crying to her, Letitia crying. She was real upset. And that's going real life. That's going real life in horrible ways. What does she care if that woman works? Why? That's horrible. That makes me so sad. Shelley, yeah, no. That's why I'm always saying don't go real life with anything. Don't go real life. I mean, if KJ worked at the local Kmart or whatever, and people started calling, I would be saying the same thing. I'd be saying, do not go real life. I think the laws have not caught up with the internet yet. In fact, I'm sure they haven't. And I think once they do, we're going to see that kind of behavior criminalized. We're going to see some penalties extracted on people that do that kind of crap because it's just wrong. It's just plain old vanilla wrong. You just don't do that to anybody. Even as much as I dislike people like Jill Rodriguez, Lori Alexander is a prime example. I would never go real life, even though they had no problem doing that. Lori Alexander's husband contacted me, ironically, several days after I said I wouldn't be talking about her on No Longer Criffer anymore because she was dealing with her brain tumor again. And I happen to I don't think about picking on people who are going through a hard time. And Lori, just like with KJ, the only thing I ever did was copy her words and then show where they were incredibly wrong. If you want to do a deep dive on Lori Alexander, there is so much out there. And Lori is another one where there's a huge multinational group of folks determined to take her down. Her and Michael and Debbie Pearl. But I think Michael and Debbie Pearl are being taken down by nature because Michael has had a couple of strokes. And it really impacted the ministry. I don't know if he's ever fully come back. And while I'm not joyful about that in any way, shape, or form, all I can say is I am happy that they have a much smaller reach than they used to. Their promotion of using that kind of corporal punishment on children should never be followed. I've talked about this before. I've talked about it in my book. When my daughter was 4 and had gone through her troubles with ITP, spinal meningitis, and a number of other things, her and I just cling to each other. We were like foxhole buddies after having been through that together. And someone in my church started telling me that my daughter was way too clingy. And they gave me one of Michael Pearl's books. They gave me To Train Up a Child because I had never heard of Pearl before. I read that book and it was all about using physical violence on your child to control them. And that's not a good way to parent. I just got to say, there may be times when a swat on the butt might be appropriate, maybe, but I'm not convinced. I'm a big believer in gentle parenting and using other punishments because you just don't do that. So I read that book and I was looking at it going, so this person expects me to beat my child with low platelets. How does that even work? Because if it was to the point with her when her platelets were bad that you could take and press on her like this, press on her hand or her arm, and a huge welt would come up like a blueberry shoved under the skin. So what I did with the book was what I've done with many books like that. I threw it away because I don't want it to fall into the hands of anyone else who may be convinced to start doing this to their child. Take a drink. It's a horrible thing to do to your child. There are better ways to make them behave than that. Much better ways. But as I've said before, KJ knew of none of this. She didn't know anything about the Pearls. She knew nothing about Bill Gothard, the IBLP, ATI. None of that. The Dugars. None, none, none. Many years after I'd put up all my content, she suddenly discovered them. Remember, you hit your child to teach them not to hit. Yeah, that's pretty sick, Java, man. There's a sick theology. If you ever get bored for something to read, M. Dolan Hickman, who was a friend of mine, wrote a book called 1324. And that book is all about a kid that is undisciplined with Pearl type methods and how he spun out and how that kid ended up dead. It's kind of scary. She is heartless. Yeah, she did get her fired. Fellow felon, Miss UK. Fellow felon, Miss UK. I tried to change my name here and it wouldn't let me. I don't know what I'm doing wrong because I was going to put Felonious Suzanne the Salty because we were all joking on about the 3 felonies a day. And like I said, I know that I'm committing a felony just by having a bird feeder out there, but I'm not worried about it. It is what it is. They're not going to come after me because I'm feeding the little finches outside. Not at all. But let me tell you, thank God the statute of limitations has run out because my ex committed a pile of felonies, crazy ones. And I was kind of a hostage to fortune being married to him and being with him when he committed some of these. I'm wondering if she left the rock and roll church or they asked her to leave. I wonder that myself, Java Man, because I've never heard the term rock and roll church. I'm just going to throw that one out there too. The first time I heard it was flying out of her mouth. I have heard of contemporary worship. At our old churches, the old churches I've been to, contemporary worship is the name of what the quote rock and roll church songs are. And I gotta say, I miss being on a worship team. I miss singing those songs. Sometimes I'll play them all on YouTube just to be able to sing and remember. Bonus if you get the reference. Yeah. Danielle, my grandson started kindergarten today and he tells me, Grandma, I know I can't cuss and I can't punch the other kids. Yes, honey, let's start out that way at least. Yes. Absolutely, Danielle. And that's what's so funny about kids. They will pick up curse words in just a flash because I remember my son took a while to speak. I don't know why that is. It took him a long time to speak. And it took him longer than most kids to catch on to reading, even though I know reading is a development in the brain, just like, being mature is a development in your brain when you hit 25. So I see what Celine was saying about making the minimum age to star in porn 25. I would support that because before that, you're just running around making stupid choices. I ran around making stupid choices when I was that age too. And there are a lot of things about me that make me laugh that if KJ found them, she'd be running her mouth and be very upset and say, "We need to kick this woman down." I did a whole lot of print ads when I was young and thin and skinny and gorgeous. I did a few television commercials. I posted my skivvies more than once for photos and that sort of thing. I didn't do anything worse than that. I tried out once for a strip club because I was so desperate for money to go to college. And after my lackluster performance, the guy who owned the place said, "This is not for you. You have two left feet. You're way too awkward." And I was like, thank God, because I didn't really want to do this, but I wanted the money. Tracy Lords lied about her age when she was doing porn. She told them she was 18, but she was a sophomore in high school. Yes, I heard about that. Tracy, um, her autobiography is a very interesting thing if you ever get bored for books to read. It really is. And I knew the guy she was married to for a while in Baltimore. He was like a prop master or a prop assistant on John Waters films, of which Tracy starred in one of them. She was in Crybaby, one of my favorite films that also stars Johnny Depp. That is such a crazy film. I just love it. It's such a time period thing and such a good look at Baltimore, a city I love. I love Baltimore because it reminds me of New Orleans. These really old buildings. In fact, I keep teasing my husband if he keels over dead tomorrow or soon, I'm going to buy me a condo in a place. The address is 100 Fell Street. It's an old warehouse that has been turned into the most wonderful condos right out there in the pier, and you're looking out over the water. I keep saying that's where I'm going to end up. Not too far from my kids on the water because I love the ocean and I would have to have ocean to be happy in some way, shape, or form. So now I'm on my Baltimore rant. I love the place. I used to love to go bar hopping there because it reminded me of parts of New Orleans because you would just be club, club, club. And we would just have a good time, and then collapse in one of the local hotels for the evening. So now you know a bunch of stuff about me that Katie Joy could use against me. But I don't think she's going to find any record of it where she could verify it. And if she was actually a real journalist, you verify things before you share them. Well, Minnesota has 10,000 lakes if you want to move there. Java, man, I don't like cold. Baltimore has cold, but like I said, I like the fact that it is a deep water port and you can watch the ships. One of my favorite things to do when I got discombobulated was to run away for the day to Baltimore and sit on the end of the pier and watch the traffic. Go eat crab cakes. Oh, yeah, she lied about her age. That's really common in that industry. That's another reason why I am opposed to anybody doing corn until, like Celine said, 25 when your brain is mature. If it's done willingly and you're not being trafficked or all the other things, I mean, not being trafficked, you're not being drug stupid, they're not doing R to you, and you want to do that, go ahead, have a great time at it. I'm 2 hours from Baltimore and just returned from Chincoteague Sunday. I love the Eastern Shore, but not Baltimore. The traffic is nuts. However, I do Baltimore before DC. See, yeah, I like Baltimore more than DC too. And the traffic is brutal. My favorite place would be Annapolis, but the same thing in Annapolis is like $1 million. And I'm not paying $1 million for a condo on the water. That's just never happening. I'm too cheap. Once that came out, they had to pull all of her videos since she was underage. Java Man, and that's the bad thing about Cornhub. People still upload that crap on a regular basis. They can pull all the underage videos they want, and then some idiot comes along and re-uploads it because they do make it easy for you to download those videos from that place. So that's why I'm very opposed now to Cornhub, because once I started reading some of the articles and seeing there's actually an organization that is opposed to them called Trafficking Hub, there's a petition there. I'm going to put all of this in the description when I'm done here, that you can go sign up saying that Cornhub needs to be responsible. They need to be held responsible for all the trafficking and the underage videos. And I'm also going to put up a link to the New York Times article, because the Times article is like, it was eye-opening. And like I said, it was written by somebody that I know is very reputable. What's going on, Gingerly? Nothing much. I just was speculating on who Katie is referring to, saying that one lawsuit would be dropped today and two more may well be as well today. And I don't think so, because some of the paperwork I'm seeing, some of the legal paperwork does not indicate that there's anything being dropped, unless she's dropping her lawsuits against those places. That's the only one I can see, and I can't see her doing that. She's way too vindictive. Can you imagine what it would be like to be that paranoid, that vindictive, that vengeful, with a need to punish anybody that doesn't lick your rear end? I don't know what that's like. I couldn't do it. I certainly could not do it. So, you know that I absolutely love Maryland too, Bossy. It's my favorite. I wish we could have gone together to see the Mormon temple. That would have been the best. Like I said, my kids went to see it, and they told me, and it was like, yeah, it sounds crazy. Sounds quite crazy and very nice to look at. Like the dean said on Animal House, that is no way to go through life. Chocolate Man, I told somebody that the other day about her. I use that phrase, what the dean said in Animal House, because it's fitting for so many things. And at the time that I first saw Animal House, I liked it. Now I'm looking back on it going, I kind of agree with the dean there. And he's in his little speech where he said, every fall, the toilets explode. Every spring, the trees are draped with underwear. That's definitely no way to go through life. Oh, she could really be a loony, funny pastor. She could make $1 million doing that too. That's what's so funny about it. She could really make some money if she just swerved a little bit. Big money. Oh, and it wouldn't even be that hard to just need to learn a little Bible and stop saying rock and roll college. Remember, in college, you were there to learn. Java Man, I went to LSU, and let me tell you something. The sororities, but not so much the sororities, but the fraternities, people weren't there to learn. People were there to get fallen down, toasted, vomiting on themselves, drunk every single weekend in the frat houses. Katie Joy Osteen. John, she couldn't make it. Let me tell you, she couldn't do it Osteen style. You know why? And I know this because my husband worships the ground Osteen walks on. Osteen is positive. Osteen is 100% positive. I struggle with that. I want to be negative a lot because that's just where my mind goes. And I think it's because of my childhood trauma. So I couldn't be as positive as Joel Osteen either. I just couldn't do it. And I know she couldn't. Joel Osteen starts every single sermon as, Lift up your Bibles and repeat after me. Today, my mind is open, blah, 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 the things he says. And it's always positive. It says, I am receptive to the word of the word of the Lord. One of the writers or director of Animal House used his experiences at Dartmouth for that. Java Man, I have read and heard some horrible things about Dartmouth. I'm glad I didn't go because they apparently have the craziest frat rats this side of LSU. And LSU's got some crazy ones. Because there have been some hazing incidents at LSU where people have died. Running down the Old River Road, which is this old river road that runs along the Mississippi that you can take out of LSU and go on, that has all these old plantations and crap. Pledges in their underwear, drunk out of their mind, blindfolded on Old River Road, getting run over, hit by cars. That happened. They've also had a number of deaths and injuries from extreme alcohol consumption. And I remember back in the 70s, after Animal House, Playboy magazine rated the most partying schools in the nation, and LSU made the top 10. I was not surprised. You're not an LSU fan. I'm not either in some ways. Both of my in-laws worked for LSU. My father-in-law, Charles, was dean of anatomy at the vet school, and he was one of the founding professors at the vet school. They brought him down from Michigan to start the vet school. He helped start it. My mother-in-law was an instructor. She taught business communications. And it was kind of funny because when I was working and I was engaged to my husband, my friends at work would say, can you tell your mother-in-law to leave me alone, to quit making me do my assignments? She is such a hard ass. Well, I never saw that side of her until I married my husband, and I was staying with them, and she said, here are your thank you cards. I want you to sit down right now and write out thank you cards to everybody that gave you a wedding gift. And I remember I moaned and cried and had a fit about that because I had never heard of doing such thing. My mother had raised me like veal in a box, where I just did not have real good social skills on some things. So that was one of them. So I guess the ones that live getting admitted to the frat got to have standards. Exactly. It's the party issue and funding issue. My relatives were Loyola people. Darth, I had a relative that taught at Loyola, that was a professor at Loyola. And I had cousins that had gone to Sophie Newcomb. So I have links all over the place. My husband also attended Loyola for a while. He attended LSU too. He got his undergrad at LSU, and he attended Loyola for a while. He also attended UVA. I'll say this about my husband. He is an incredibly smart man, gifted with languages, so intelligent. And it's hard to beat him in a debate. I'm just going to throw that right out there because he will come at you again and again from different angles. They should have a tomb of the unknown pledge. His remains are known only to God. Exactly. They should. I think the LSU has cracked down on a lot of those things. And I want to say that I read that they tore down Percy Smith Hall there, which was this huge building that was just like a carbuncle on the face of LSU because it was all modern in the middle of all these ancient red brick buildings. Yes, but does your husband have a Spanish language degree? Nope, but he has probably more Spanish language skills than the troll. I'm just going to throw that out there. He speaks Spanish fluently. I speak pidgin Spanish, if at all. And if you take me off script, I don't function very well. And I freely admit that. German is the thing in my brain. So yeah, he didn't have a Spanish language degree. I'm not a frat person, and I didn't appreciate all the damn funding on the state going to the only public university in the state that made money from sports. Darth, that was my problem with LSU. I was studying art there, and we were perpetually underfunded. I remember taking a figure drawing class and being told we didn't have the funds for live models. So we started having to chip in to have live nude models to be able to draw. Think about that one for a minute. And yet the football players were being given Ferraris. I mean, think about that one for a minute. Y'all's Nana? Yes, 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 she did. I don't know if it was KJ herself or her trolls, but they called. They called and called and called, and they got her job taken away. Molly Golightly said it was KJ that called. I don't know. Or have some of the class volunteer. Some people did that, Java Man. Some people volunteered. Even though I was like 110 pounds, I still had so many issues about my body and sexuality that I wasn't about to do it. I wasn't about to get up there. Plus, I had a large scar on my left breast because when I was 14, I had a tumor removed. And it's funny, I'm looking back at all this and like, why was I so paranoid about that? Damn, I looked good back then. Now, oh, heck no, I wouldn't do that. In fact, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to dress for a birthday party on Sunday that is taking place at a pool with people I don't want to see any of my parts, any outline of my parts at the party, even though it's a pool party. So I have to think about that one. Yeah, poor Miss Letitia. She did lose her job. So it's confirmed she got her ticket. Let me tell you, Molly Golightly confirmed it. I mean, all you have to do is go watch Molly's, I think it's like an 8-minute video from Saturday. Molly says it. Molly says it that Letitia called her up crying about it. She claims it. So I'm saying, I don't know how KJ sleeps at night. I'm serious. I couldn't sleep or look at myself in the mirror if I were her. Kentucky girl, that's because you have a conscience. I still to this day not sure she does. I'm not sure she does at all. If she does, I've seen no evidence of it, which is unfortunate. Life is too short to go through life like that. It just is. Okay, you guys, I'm going to go. I've talked the most when I've got asthma of all crazy things because my mind keeps just jumping all over the place. So don't go real life on people and harass them. It's just so stupid when people do that because they're just making things worse for the person and themselves. Have a wonderful day.